And today is, what is today? The 13th of December. And it's 10:18 in the morning. And our weather is not a good day today. It's 62 degrees, high 66, which for some of you would be swimming weather, I know that. We're going to have a 30% chance of rain for maybe another hour and a half, or an hour, hour and a half. And then we're going to have partial sunshine for the rest of the afternoon, and in the evening, no rain. And no rain, no rain, no rain. And then tomorrow is going to be sunny. So we're going to have sunny Thursday and Friday, where we'll get up around 70, 72 degrees. And then cloudy with highs in the mid to high 60s. And we don't show rain for, let's see, count the days here. For a week, about 8 days, we're not going to have rain again, according to them. So that's what it's been doing. Once every 7 to 10 days, it's been raining, and that's not that bad. It came down a bunch already today, but we got wood chips in the yard, and it absorbs the water. So okay, so I got a little bit late start today. My wife finally got back to Israel, and she's in the house. It took her an extra 6 weeks to get back because they kept canceling flights, and she couldn't get flights, and the airlines were impossible to deal with. And then finally she came in on LL, and she just got in a little while ago, so I was hanging out with her for a while. And she said she'll never fly in any airline other than LL. LL has missile defense systems on it. It's the only commercial airline that has things. They're similar to what Biden has on Air Force One. They might not be as complete, and he may have more hidden stuff, but it's a pretty good system. So that's what's going on. Let's do let me go in the chat and make sure everything's copacetic there. I want to make sure everything's working. That's what's going on. Let's do let me go in the chat and make sure everything's copacetic there. I want to make sure everything's working. That's what's going on. Let's do let me go in the chat and make sure everything's copacetic there. Okay, let me do a few things in the chat while people come in. Be quick. Still got the sound on. I'll shut that in a minute. Do a few things in the chat while people come in. I'll get rid of the echo. Okay, it's gone. I think we're about done. Good. All right. So we'll talk about what's going on with Biden and the war and things like that. We need to get back on updating on that. We now have about 40% of Gaza under control. That's it. So that's why the missiles are still coming. They were saying that we would be done there around mid-January, but now I'm hearing some of them say it'll be the end of January. So it's probably someplace in there. Yesterday, 8 soldiers got killed. It was a sad thing. They went in with some Hamas was holed up into a structure, a building, and there was, gunfire, and Hamas detonated an IED device that the IDF didn't see, and it killed, I believe, 8. That was a very high death toll for us. Quite sad. We started flooding the tunnels yesterday. People were saying we were flooding the tunnels, so they didn't know what they were talking about. It started yesterday. And when they tested, they did one test on the flooding prior, and they said a lot of these characters were coming out of the tunnels and surrendering. So I don't know what Biden's going to say, but they're going to avidly flood the tunnels. They're flooding the tunnels, and then they're closing the entrances that they put the water in through, so the water has no place to go. I think they intend to use sponge bombs on that, which seals the entrance/exit. So once the water's in there, they're not getting it out. I don't think any of us are really completely understanding what's going to happen with the water, including the IDF. They tested it, so they got a pretty darn good idea, I think. The tunnels are really made out of concrete, floors, walls, and ceiling. So that could take weeks and weeks for that water to seep through the concrete or evaporate. In this cold weather now, it's not going to evaporate from heat. It'd be, I would sooner expect it to freeze, which it won't, than evaporate from heat. So there is a real problem for Hamas. Now, I have not seen the pump or pumps, and I understand they're big. So when I hear big, I'm thinking the size of a big SUV or something, right? And it probably has a 4-inch hose like a fire truck has, some 3-4 inch hose. And it probably can push a lot of water. But when you're talking 300 miles of tunnels, it's going to take many days to flood them. Now, if they had like 4 pumps and 4 big hoses like that, much quicker, or 8 pumps and 8 big hoses, even quicker yet. I don't know how many they have. Why should they tell us? They should keep it quiet. If they tell us, Hamas knows, so they shouldn't tell us. Are they going to drown? Well, when you think about it, these tunnels have a ceiling that's probably 6.5 feet, something like that. At least 6 feet, probably a little over. And they're probably about, well, I'm guessing 4 or 5 feet wide, probably minimally, 3 feet, probably about 4 feet, 3-4 feet wide. 300 miles of that, but much of that has been destroyed already. So you're talking about a lot of water. And it's not going to just come in like a tsunami and they're going to drown. Okay? first they're going to have water that's, 1 or 2 inches deep, then ankle deep, then it'll come up to the calf, then the knee, then the thigh, then the waist, and it might take many hours for it to go up each gradient. So by the time they're walking in 1 or 2 inches of water till it's up to their chest, it's going to take days, I would think. At least 2 days or a day, so there's plenty of time for them to get out. So if they prefer to drown in cold water rather than surrender, that's their business, right? If they prefer to climb out of the tunnels and shoot the soldiers, good luck with that, because the soldiers are going to be behind solid, protection, taking cover, like behind buildings, big rocks, chunks of concrete. And predominantly, a lot of them are going to be in armored vehicles. And when they come out and start shooting, they're going to start receiving fire from snipers that'll be hidden stealthily in roofs, buildings, windows, in various places. So they're going to have to contend with snipers. Then they're going to have to contend with ground troops firing assault rifles at them. They're going to have to contend with helicopters and planes and artillery putting heavy ordnance on them, and the tanks using their artillery and 2 machine guns. So the chances of them having much of a chance by making a end run for it is pretty dismal. Okay, I would say that perhaps maybe in the confusion 1% of them get away and go hide someplace else in Gaza until they get picked off at a later date. Maybe 3%, depending on the level of confusion. So if, let's say, 180 came flying out of the tunnels with machine guns, shoulder-fired rockets and stuff like that, you might even see 25 be able to get into another location, a basement, a building, a rooftop, hide in rubble or something like that. But the ones that are going to get away, pretty much are going to have to throw their weapons away and impersonate being civilians. This is going to cause a marked drop in rocket launches and a lot of other things. And it can very likely cause Hamas to want to come to the negotiating table in some sort of a sane fashion instead of saying release 6,000 prisoners in jail, Once the rockets stop, Hamas doesn't have much purpose anymore. And the flooding of the tunnels, what's today, Wednesday, maybe by Monday or Wednesday next week, should accomplish another massive drop in the rockets. The drop in the rockets is, depending on the day, but I'd say the worst day it's down by half. On the best day, down by 3/4. So they're not able to do much anymore, and that should diminish even greater. And then our control of Gaza will keep increasing. We'll go from 40 to 50, 60, 70%, 80%. It'll keep picking up more and more. The tunnels are going to help, the flooding of the tunnels. Flooding the tunnels is only going to work if you're near water, which Gaza is. But if you're trying to fight Iran and Hezbollah with tunnels dug into mountains and stuff like that where they're far from water, that's a horse of another color. The flooding isn't going to work. I don't know how long, a pump pulls water out of the ocean. They're pulling it from the Mediterranean Sea. It's salt water. We don't care. The salt water over time will corrode the concrete much better too. Okay. The pump is only going to be able to supply substantial pressure for a certain distance. So I don't know how they intend to do that. I don't have the details. It's possible. I mean, if you let's be realistic. These tunnels are not 100 meters from the ocean. They're probably at least 400 or 500 meters or 300 meters or something like that. The pump could run water pressure at 300 meters. I'm pretty sure, maybe even 400 or 500 meters. Okay, of course, it's going to be a big honking pump. But 300 miles of tunnels, the water's, they've got blast doors in these tunnels. So blast doors are big metal doors like what you see in a submarine where they can close. Well, not exactly like that, but they probably have an inch and a half or so of hardened steel or heavy steel, at least an inch, or it wouldn't be a blast door. It may be 2 inches even. And they have ways to close it tight. I don't know if they have a wheel they spin like on a submarine, but they got latches and it's probably a reasonably tight fit. In any event, water may seep through, but not enough to flood any tunnels. It's going to be leakage, where the floor will be wet. It's not going to, it probably wouldn't even put an inch of water in there. If it did, the water's going to flood in from the bottom of the door, the blast door opening, not the top. And if it fills up, let's say a foot or so, that's going to mean there's a puddle of water. The opening, the lower opening of the blast door will be on the side of inside the tunnel underwater. So the water's going to provide counter pressure against the water seeping in, and less water will seep in at that point. So, this is a problem, okay? But you got to analyze it. So, okay, they're on the right side of the blast door, the right-hand side, let's say, right? And on the other side, the blast door is closed, so that gets flooded. So it's going to have feet of water in there. So, the blast door is usually going to open out. So if you got 5 feet of water in there, they're not going to be able to open the blast door and push it out. But I expect if they had 5 or 10 guys trying to shove it open, they'd probably get it open. Or maybe they need more. I don't know. I don't know what the pressure is going to be. It's going to depend on the size of the area containing the water. If it's a 25-foot room, yeah, they'll push it open. If it's a 150-meter location full of 5 feet of water, well, I don't know if they're going to be able to push it open. Okay, I think you'd need heavy equipment. It's too much water you got to move. And once they open it, they're going to get flooded, and I don't know how they're going to be able to sustain that kind of flooding. So, is it going to really cramp the operations inside the tunnel? Yes, severely. But what they might need to do is take the pump and put water in tanker trucks and drive the tanker trucks to other locations of the tunnel and drop them in. And you can get a good 10,000 gallons in a tanker truck. Now let's take a look at let's take a 40-foot swimming pool and see how many gallons of water it holds or something like that. Let's try to. So it takes usually hours to fill a swimming pool. Usually it's a nozzle. A 30-foot swimming pool, which is pretty good sized swimming pool. Let's not kid ourselves. 20 foot is usually a good sized pool. 30 foot is what you would say in a private house is a large pool. Takes about 25,000 gallons of water. But this is an above ground pool. Let's talk about an in ground pool because tunnels are in ground. The average swimming pool takes about 20,000 gallons of water, and that's normally a 20-foot pool, or maybe a 40-foot pool even. It could be 40 feet. So that's a lot of trucks to fill up 300 miles of tunnels, so I don't think that's feasible. I think they're going to have to try to pump the water in directly into the tunnels they could access with the hoses running from the ocean. Now, yes, I'm really in the dark because I don't know exactly. I haven't seen tunnel maps that I know to be true. But they're probably going to try to go into the tunnels in 15 or 20 places where they can, have enough water pressure in the hoses to make it do something. They don't need a lot of water pressure. They just, if it's just they don't have to shoot it like a fire hose. If it just flows, it's good enough. That's all they need because they're going to be dumping it down into the tunnels. They're not going to be shooting it straight or up. It's going to be going down. So all they got to do is have the water moving out. It's going to be a big job. It's not going to be that fast. I'd say a week till they really get a heavy-duty flood going. Now, you got to bear in mind, they don't need to flood it up to here on the terrace. If they get it waist deep, okay, let's say a meter or 3 feet deep, the tunnels are gonna. Let's talk about what happens in the tunnels. Okay, first of all, it's gonna more than likely fry the electrical lines. The electrical lines may all be up high on the wall and running on the roof, in which case they'll have to put more water in there to destroy the electrical lines. But they have outlet plugs, they have light sockets, and this stuff is going to get fried by the water. It's not going to work. It'll short out. Will it cause a fire? Probably not. It just short out. Are they going to be able to throw the circuit breaker and fix it? No, it'll be shorted out. So the lights are going to be gone, and the electrical outlets will be gone, and likely whatever they're using, if anything, to move air around in the tunnels, if anything, is going to be gone, like air blowers. Any generators in the tunnels are going to fry. Any refrigerators, computers won't have any electrical source, any source of electricity, and it will damage food. Munitions will survive for a few days anyway, but when you start putting ammo and artillery shells and rockets in salt water, I mean, it might sustain 1 day, 2 days, 3 days. Guys, this is eventually going to go bad. Okay? A week, I don't think it would even take that long. Not that the ammo and the shells they have, they're going to have stuff that's going to be crap like North Korea or Chinese junk. They're not going to have good stuff. It's not going to be but a couple of days, a few days, a handful of days, and that stuff's going to go bad. Medical equipment will go bad. Any bedding, chairs, tables they have are going to be severely damaged by the water. So how usable are the tunnels? How can they walk around in waist deep water? Look, if they leave the water at waist deep and they got the lines for the electricity up high on the ceiling, right? And the guys are standing waist deep in water and they go to work a light bulb or plug something in, they could electrocute themselves. You couldn't they? Would you do that? Would you put a big pail of water and stand in it and start changing light bulbs? Come on. So there's a lot of problems facing them with the water coming in like that, and I mean a lot of problems. So the tunnels in part are going to be rendered unusable by this flooding, that's for sure. Okay. You know, how many of them, I don't know, but definitely a substantial portion. And if they don't have these blast doors closed, and I don't know how many blast doors they have, they got 300 miles of tunnels, and they're going to put a blast door, you know, every 100 yards, or probably every couple of miles or something, or a mile, you know. So this is going to be severely crippling for them. Now, probably the inner tunnels are going to be holding up because the water is not going to get in there because there's not going to be that much water pressure and not blast doors and stuff like that. They could also try to get quick dry concrete and rapidly take tunnel entrances and put a foot of concrete in there. They just have to take some boards, build the boards up there, and then fill the area with the boards, you know, maybe 12 inches thick or 9 inches even would do it, and even 6 inches, and put concrete in there, and the concrete dries, it's going to stop the water. So they can, you know, take measures to stop this, but they're going to be sacrificing a lot of their tunnels. Got it? So this is going to push things forward, and probably they're going to try to get a negotiation thing going. Now, the three Hamas big shot leaders in Qatar were told by the Qatarians, or Qatar, to get out of Qatar in 24 hours. Now, the reason given is a threat of assassination. Well, let's look at this. They're living in a 5-star hotel in Qatar. Is a hotel a secure location? Absolutely not. Why? Because mountains of tourists, business people, vacationers, and whatever, go in and out every day. So you have strangers moving in and out of the hotel perpetually. Does Qatar have the ability to vet these guests at the hotel on an international level? Not at all. Not even close. They can't vet nothing. So Netanyahu launched the Mossad and told them to kill the Hamas leaders wherever they find them. So they know they're in a hotel, and they know the specific hotel. So Qatar gives them 24 hours to leave, and probably the alibi story is, we don't know how we could protect them. Now, why would it be the case? Because it would be easy for Mossad to put people in the hotel that work for Mossad. They're not going to strip search everybody going into the hotel. They're not going to vet everybody. They're not going to do anything. They might look at their passport, ask them where they're from, what's the purpose of their visit, but the border people do that. Once they're in the country, a 5-star hotel doesn't want to harass them. They might, because they're foreigners, come and practice, they might say, you got to leave your passport here. So that means that people are not able to run out on the bill. You know, otherwise people would stay in the hotel for a week, right? And a room at, you know, let's say a moderate suite at $1,500 a day, you know, run up a 10 grand bill and another 4 or 5 grand in room service, and just get on the plane and leave. And what's Qatar going to do? Nothing. So these countries want you to leave your passport with them. So when you settle the bill, they give you your passport back. That's how it works. Okay? Will they not have you leave the passport if you pay the bill before you leave? No. They usually have it as a law. But that's one of the big reasons why they want that passport being held. Okay. On cruise ships, when you get on an American cruise departing from, let's say, Florida or America, anywhere in America, they won't take the American passport, but they want a credit card. And you have to send them copies of your passport. And when you go to check in, they take your passport and they scan it and they make a picture of it and they have your credit card. So if you don't pay the bill and you skip out on them, right, they'll know how to come after you. Now, if let's say you leave Miami for a 1 week Caribbean cruise and you come back to Miami, they start calling people to settle their bill the evening before. And if you don't settle the bill, they don't keep you prisoner on the ship. They got to get you off for the next cruise. But if, let's say, your credit card is canceled or you don't have enough funds or something like that, and you don't have cash, they'll, trust you to pay the bill from when you're home. But they don't let you run up much. Okay, if your credit card's not working, see what they do is during the cruise they keep charging your credit card every other day or every third day. So they're not going to let you run up a $4,000 or $5,000 bill if your credit card's not accepting the charges. So that this is petty money. They're not worried that much about it. If you're a foreigner, you have to give the cruise ship your passport. So you're leaving America, you're a French passport holder, so you got to give them, when you get on the boat, you give them your passport at check-in. And they hold it, and then when it's time to get off, the afternoon or the night before, they call you to settle your bill. If you may not even have a bill, but most people do. They'll have a bill for tips, they'll have a bill for drinks or sodas or room service or something they bought or they took a tour. Probably 95% of the people have a bill, and 98, there are some people that will do it. Some people don't want to give them their credit card, and they just say, "Look, I'll give you $500 cash, and or $1,000 cash against my bill," and they take that, and then you go settle with them at the end, and they give you your cash back, probably in the form of a check, although they may give you cash. So when it's time to get off the boat, the night before, usually they give them their passport back, but they want that bill settled. So for most people, it works smoothly. So the hotels in many countries, which I'm sure Qatar is one, do the same thing. But, any intelligence agency from any of the, 25 big countries can easily get good, legitimate passports that look like them, that's not, that who they really are. So they don't care, so hold the passport, I'll leave. They will have a reasonable photographic rendition of the person, of course. The person just leaves, that's all. Has another passport. Now it gets a little tricky getting out of the country with a different passport. Can be problematic because a lot of countries don't want you to leave on a passport that you didn't enter on. So the solution for that with the intelligence agency is they have a second set of ID, passport and so forth, that they use to enter the country. Then they give the hotel their other passport because they're not going to get that one back. But the hotel has no ability to go scan computers at the airport and immigration and see if they entered under that passport. So today, a lot of these passports don't have a stamp, but let's say Qatar stamps it. So they'll have agents in Qatar that have copied the stamp, and they'll stamp it. So the hotel looks at the stamp. Oh, yeah, entered under this passport. Okay. You know, they don't check the computer base. So, all these cat and mouse games are possible, and they can kill these guys. Now, there's a lot of ways they can kill them. Probably the last thing you'd ever see them do is dress up like a hotel room service clerk, knock on the door, and then bring out a silenced pistol and kill them like in Hollywood. That's not going to happen. What they might do is call a drone in when they know what room the Hamas guys are in. They probably have suites, which probably have windows that are at least 12 feet high or 16 feet high, with big balconies, like 80, 90-foot balconies, and lots of glass. It's not going to be a concrete room with little windows. There's going to be lots of glass. So they just go sit down in a van someplace and direct a drone to come and either shoot a missile into the room through the glass, which is a piece of cake, or fly the drone into the room through the glass window and blow the whole suite up, which will cause tens of millions of dollars of structural damage to the hotel. The hotel may need to be demolished after that, and kill the people inside. So you're talking about a substantial explosion. You're probably talking, 75 to 150 pounds of explosives. And it may kill other people, but definitely could damage the hotel and cause fires and stuff like that. They can protect them against a gunman because all they got to do is control the elevator traffic to the penthouse suites, which is where the Hamas people would normally be staying. And there they could pat people down and stuff like that. But that's not how it would happen. So they said they were going to send them to Algeria. Now, these characters go to Algeria? I don't think so. How are they going to protect them in Algeria? See, the correct way for doing protection in Qatar would not be the hotel, would be to put them in some estate outside of the city, let's say 10 miles, 15 miles out of the city. An estate that's on 15 or 20 acres that's fenced, or not fenced, it doesn't matter. And, has, 7 or 8 or 10,000 square feet of space in the house, maybe more, maybe 15,000. And they live there. Now, it's rather challenging for intelligence to figure out where in the house these people are. So what would have to happen then is they would have to violate airspace and start dropping 250, 500-pound bombs on the house, or use some very big, heavy drones that would shoot missiles. They might have to send 2 or 3 drones, each shooting 1 or 2 missiles at the house and blow the house up. Now, the house might have a bomb shelter, but they're not going to go live in the basement in the bomb shelter, So in a country that's weak like Qatar, they couldn't protect them that way either. They could sprinkle, Qatar could easily put 50 soldiers around the place on 3 shifts a day, and they're just going to make layers going out and out further from the house and stand guard with machine guns and night optics and assault weapons and stuff like that. And there's no assassin that's going to get in there. So it has to come from artillery, bombs, missiles, rockets, and stuff. Algeria is not going to work. They're not going to Algeria. So they need to go to a large, secure country. Iraq and Syria aren't going to work. Turkey, that could work. Turkey has already said that if Israel assassinates any of Hamas people in Turkey, Turkey would go to war over it. Okay, so why did Turkey say that a week or 10 days ago? Because he knew he was going to be getting the Qatar, the Hamas leaders in Qatar. That's why I think he said it. Does he have 5-star hotels? Yes. Could he put them in one of those? Yes, but I don't think he will. I think he'll get his hands on an estate someplace, and the first line of defense will be nobody knows what estate they're in. But that'll come out from tracking communications and boots on the ground intelligence. It'll find it. So then it depends on shooting a missile, dropping a bomb, and this and that. And it would be inflammatory to Turkey to do that. So it's likely Israel would back down. Lebanon is out. Egypt won't touch them with a 10-foot pole. Jordan won't touch them with a 10-foot pole. Saudi won't. Yemen would, but that does them no good. UAE won't touch them. Kuwait won't touch them. Iran would take them. So it's really going to be Turkey or Iran. If Iran takes them, Iran will take them secretly. They don't want to get all the bad press for housing them. You know, they wouldn't take them. So I think Turkey is the remedy for them. And I don't think Israel's in the mood for running an attack inside Turkey. So that's where I think they'll be. They're not going to tell you where they're really going to be either. So I doubt it's Algeria. So Biden is very confused these days. He knows what he's doing. Okay? And you know, you got to not kid yourself. Leaving the borders open the way he did for so long, and the vast amount of military-age males coming in, which is very, very, very disproportionate to what a normal illegal immigration would be. It would have a lot of children and women and old people. It wouldn't be 70-something% or 70% military age males that look fit. It's a joke. And he won't stop doing it. Okay? So it looks like the support for Ukraine is drying up. Because Congress won't approve any more money going to Ukraine as long as Biden keeps the border open. This is one aspect of the confusion facing Biden. He's very concerned about that. He knows there's going to be an invasion in the United States. For crying out loud, so many people do. He knows it's coming. Okay? But I don't think he's really sure exactly when it's going to come. That's why he's can't take decisive action against the Houthis. He doesn't know what the heck to do or when to do it. And the same with Iran. And the same with Lebanon. He doesn't know what to do. He's trying to find his way around. He knows they're doing an attack. He's in on it. But he's not sure when it's going to be. And Satan and the unclean spirits may not know exactly when they want to do this. It will happen. It might be they can't agree as to what the timing should be. So Biden is floundering around. The Houthi things with them attacking ships is a massive problem. And he hasn't taken any definitive moves yet. He doesn't know what to do. He doesn't know what to do. He still thinks he might have to stand for election next year. I don't think we'll ever see another election in America forever and ever and ever. Their last election, I think, was over. I could be wrong, but no, I don't think so. They're not having an election. They're not around next November. No way. November 24th, no, they'll be defunct before then. So what the heck does Biden do? Well, he's trying to find his way. So the powers of the air, the unclean spirits, probably are not real definitively sure as to when they want to go mow America's lawn. Okay? And now the Houthis are hitting them, Iraq and Syria, militias are hitting them, Iran is threatening him like crazy. There's so many things coming down on his head. And he's not a warrior, he's not a real, tough guy and military experience. He's no Dwight Eisenhower that was a commanding general or anything like that. He's some, highly accomplished liar that was sitting in Congress and the Senate for many years. And he's not really understanding what to do. Let's just fill all the way to the top. Now, military leaders don't always like to listen to their generals because a lot of military leaders have been destroyed and their country's gone listening to the generals. And the generals only know what to do for the military. They don't understand winning elections and having debates with Trump. And the thing is so bizarre already that Biden is not going to be having any debates with Trump. So they expect him to win the election without debating with Trump. This is something I can't quite grasp, how they're going to do that. I don't know. This is a tradition that goes back for a long ways, probably to the beginning or close to it, that the presidential candidates have debates. And it's certainly been going on since the history of television and radio. And I don't understand what they're doing here. He's not quick enough on his feet thinking and talking to hold up against Trump, and they're afraid he may drift off. And if he drifts off, and I don't remember the question, or goes into Gaga land or something like that during the debate, Trump will laugh at him. And he'll lose the debate, and he'll lose the election. I do not think for 1 minute that America's going to be kicking around November 2024. So I don't pay much attention to the next election. I don't believe there ever will be one. Now, does that mean Biden's the last president? It does not. He's old. He's not in good health. He he could deteriorate on any plane or level physiologically. He's also, they're reamping the impeachment they have already filed on him some months ago. And they're bringing that to the front burner. They want to go after him again. So, you put all this in the pot. Now he's thinking about, well, what do I do with Lebanon and Yemen, and they want to impeach me? What if we start a big war? What do I do with Iran? He's thinking that the invasion may not happen before the next election, and he has to keep himself in the White House in 2025. I don't think he knows exactly for sure when it's going to happen. It's going to happen pretty quick, okay? And it comes suddenly, and it comes in a day, and there's going to be a lot of fire in there, and it's going to do a lot of damage. But before we see that, we're going to see ruler fighting ruler. And his open border policy is doing an absolute perfect job of that. Because Texas is fighting with the Fed. Texas put up unclimbable wall barriers with their border with Mexico already. So that's a rebellion against the federal government. Texas installing anti-climb walls. No, Chief. It's coconut milk. You don't drink that. To make it harder for migrants to cross. Anti-climb walls, 8-foot gates, being strung together and wrapped with razor wire to make them even more difficult to get up or through. It's not impenetrable. It's going to take more time for some kind of wire cutters or bolt cutters to cut through. It's not going to stop it. It's going to be a hindrance, and slow them down. But I don't think it's going to stop them. Also, you just take a truck or a car and you ram it and it falls over. And it's really all you got to do. No, Chief, behave. Okay, the UN General Assembly about a week ago voted for a ceasefire for Israel, but I believe it went to the Security Council and it was voted down. Great Britain abstained and the United States voted against it. Now what happens? They did it again. Yesterday they did it again. The UN General Assembly rejected the U.S. amendment to the proposed resolution on Gaza. The amendment including condemnation of Hamas. The UN Assembly accepted the proposed resolution calling for a ceasefire. The resolution has no binding force. 153 voted in favor and 10 were opposed. That gives us 6% of the UN General Assembly was voting for Israel, 94% against. Okay? Now, let me clue you into what could happen. Believe the Lord showed me this morning. If they invade America soon, which they will, and get rid of her, who in the UN Security Council is going to vote against these resolutions? Nobody. The UK is not going to take a stand against Israel without America. Forget about it. You're not going to see it. Okay, you're not going to see it. So they just think about it. They have a General Assembly meeting. Oh, we want to have an enforced ceasefire. We're going to raise UN troops and we're going to go occupy Gaza and push Israel out, and we're going to maintain peace, and we're going to let Hamas stay in Gaza and basically rebuild and all that, and they'll stay there for a period of time to so-called keep the peace. Well, is that going to work? Well, let's take a look at Lebanon and what's going on in Lebanon. The UNFIL troops are in Lebanon, supposedly to stop the fighting. Hezbollah is not supposed to be within 15 miles of the Israeli border, yet they're all over the place. They're shooting missiles into Israel 20 meters, that's like 70 feet away from the UNFIL troops that are supposed to be preventing them from shooting these missiles. Can you imagine what I just told you? They're making a mockery of the UN. And they say if anybody interferes with their war activities, they'll kill them. The UNFIL troops are there. They're mostly from second and third world countries, and they get a high rate of pay from the UN, which is higher than what they get paid in their home countries. So they're more than happy to hang around. In Lebanon, the economy in Lebanon is the pits. Horrible. I mean, really horrible. So they could probably go to a restaurant and have themselves a meat dinner with vegetables and salad for, I'll take a guess, $6, $5-6. And they're probably getting about, I don't know, $2,500 a month or something like that. In their own country, they might get $800-900, $1,000, and they get housing for free. The UN is paying them, and the UN provides housing for them. And the housing is usually apartments. So they get nice apartments, much better than they live in their own country. They can buy food dirt cheap because the people who have no money up there. They can go to restaurants dirt cheap, and they have a nice little life up there. Why they're going to start up with Hamas will probably kill them. Do you think the UN would bring in 100,000 soldiers and wipe out Hamas if they killed 40 or 50 UN troops? No, I don't think they would. So that could be their plan. But Zechariah 12 doesn't exactly lend itself to that, but it could. Let's look at it. It could. It's not, but it works. Let me show you. Zechariah 12:1. The burden of the word of the Lord to Israel for Jehovah. Let me get it switched better here. Hold on. I want to. Okay. For Israel, the burden of the word of the Lord for Israel, so it pertains to Israel, saith Jehovah, which stretches forth the heavens and layeth forth the foundations of the earth, and formeth the spirit of man within him. Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling unto all the people round about. Round about. Okay, let's study round about. 5439 is in Hebrew is the Strong's number, and it means a circuit roundabout. It's a circuit, surrounding it. Let's see how Strong's deals with the word. seba, a circle, a neighbor, environs, but chiefly around. Roundabout, around, compass on every side. That makes sense. Okay, so the translation roundabout or circuit around is reasonably accurate. So let's break it down carefully. Behold, I will make Jerusalem a cup of trembling unto all the people round about, when they shall be in the siege both against Judah and Jerusalem. So that means they're in the West Bank, because this tip is Jerusalem, and the West Bank wraps around Jerusalem on the north, the south, and the east, not the west. So it got to be the West Bank area, which is also East Jerusalem, which is considered part of the West Bank of Samaria and Judea. So it's occupied by anywhere between 2.5 and 4.5 million Palestinians. We don't know how many there really are there. Let's just say around 3 million or something to get in the middle, right? So, a lot of them are with Hamas and Hezbollah and PIJ and other crazy groups. It could be that for some reason they wind up exporting the occupants of Gaza to the West Bank, putting them in some sort of tent city up there or something, right? Could be. Or it could be that Jordan just decides they had enough of Israel and lets all the militias and terrorist forces come into the West Bank from Jordan, which has a touching border with the West Bank, and they do the surrounding from there. That works. That fits prophecy. Okay, so I'd say it's one of those two things, or there's a third thing, just the people in West Bank rise up. They're already rising up. We're fighting them in Jenin. We had to use drones on them last night or yesterday. So they just direct more towards Jerusalem, and that could happen. So there's different scenarios, but another scenario could be that for some reason the UN wants to go into the West Bank to surround Jerusalem. They want to get Israel out of Jerusalem, which is what Satan's goal really is. Out of Israel is great, but out of Jerusalem is very mandatory for Satan, because that's where the temple goes. That's where the Temple Mount is. So Satan is very interested in that. So how do the forces get into the West Bank is not known to me now. We can only speculate. And Judah as well, which is the land we have now, or it could mean against Judah could mean the people or the land we have now. Probably the land, because it says Judah against Judah, against Jerusalem. It says both, so it's probably geographical. And in that day will I make Jerusalem a burdensome stone for all people. All that burden themselves with it shall be cut in pieces. Though all the people of the earth, now this is interesting. It's hard to pin down, I'll explain. The word for people is not people, it's goyim, heathen. So what it's saying is all the heathen of the earth. Now, the earth is the word ha'eretz, which could mean the earth, and it could also mean the land of Israel. So God might be referencing the nations living in greater Israel, rising up and doing this to us, but it very likely could be the heathen from the earth gathered together against us. Now, remember I told you they would get rid of America and then come back and get rid of Israel because they figure without America, I mean, who's giving Israel the bombs and artillery and support? America. So if they could get rid of America, they can easily get rid of Israel. Right now, if they try to get rid of Israel, they may be facing 70 warships, 300 or 400 airplanes, tens of thousands of American soldiers in the Middle East, and they don't want that. So they're thinking that let's get rid of America first. That's how I believe it's going to play. Okay. And then they have the UN without America. Well, we're not going to disband the UN. America's gone. So they lost their seat. We move on, right? And then they all pass these emergency security orders, and they mobilize the United Nations to go into um, the West Bank and get ready to take Jerusalem, which is what Satan really wants. In that day, saith the Lord, I will. So it very likely this could be the scenario. I think it might be. In that day, saith the Lord, I will smite every horse with astonishment and his rider with madness, and I will open my eyes upon the house of Judah, and will smite every horse of the people with blindness. And the governors of Judah shall say in their heart, and this is the two witnesses, the chiefs of Judah, shall say in their heart, the inhabitants of Jerusalem shall be my strength, and the Lord of hosts their God. So there's believers in Jerusalem already, lots of them, which isn't the case today. The Messianic congregations are just Messianic churchianity. It's nonsense. So this is probably Elijah, one of the two witnesses, has been working over there. And this could be a big reason why. And the temple that comes down from heaven, not New Jerusalem, the temple, could be there already too. I don't know. And that could be why they want to hit it. And this could be one of the reasons why the Lord is wanting to defend it. In that day will I make the governors, the judges is what I would call it, of Judah like an earth of fire among the wood, and like a torch of fire in a sheep. So he talks about the fire two times, and who do you know has fire coming out of your mouth but the two witnesses? And they shall devour all the people round about on the right hand and on the left. So they burn up. It's not devour, they burn up. And then we got to read it very slowly. And Yerushalayim, and the word for that is Yerushalayim, Jerusalem, shall be inhabited again. Now, this is not correct. Yeshav, it means to abide or remain, okay? So what it's saying is Yerushalayim remain, and again is the word ode, which is reasonably well translated as again. I think again is okay translation without any problem. Shall, remain again in her own place. Let's get that word down. Tachat. See how Strong treats this word. It means underneath or below. Could also mean same place. So it says she remains again in her own place. She stays there. Nothing happens to it, is what I think this is meaning. It says, so Jerusalem remains still in her own place, even in Jerusalem. The Lord also shall save the tents of Judah first, and the glory of the house of David, and the glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem do not magnify themselves against Judah. The glory of the inhabitants of Jerusalem, it sounds to me like there's definitely from the previous verse a big body of believers there, so there could be a temple or a tabernacle there. Very highly possible. In that day shall Jehovah defend the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and he that is feeble among them at that day shall be as David. Now I'm just going to scan through this because we've done all this so many times. So this could be the way they're going to proceed with it. Could be. Sounds good to me. So the attack is going to come soon, but I don't think they all know when the attack is, and they might not be cluing Biden into it. And Biden, there may be a lot of uncertainty with them. They don't know what to do or what not to do. They're trying to find their way, and they're not doing good, the Americans. I wouldn't pay attention to any eclipses and stuff like that. You don't. We're not supposed to go by the signs. When you see the sun go dark and the moon go to blood, not amber like the harvest moon, blood, then the great day of the Lord is coming. And then when the great day of the Lord happens, the stars don't give their light, the moon doesn't give their light, nor does the sun. Everything goes dark. Those signs you pay attention to. The others I would ignore. So things could be close for the daughter of Babylon, America, but she doesn't know it. Biden's not in on it. Go back in my notes here for a minute. The Saudis and the UAE came out with a wisecrack. I'll tell you, it was clever from them. Saudi Arabia and the UAE, in a joint statement, we will not send any more humanitarian aid to Gaza, nor will we invest in Gaza after the war without a two-state solution. This is the responsibility of Israel and the U.S. So, what's going on? Biden keeps pushing for a two-state solution. So he engineered this press release between the UAE and Saudi Arabia to blame it on Israel. But on the other hand, the UAE and Saudi Arabia know Israel is never going to go for a two-state solution. You know, look what happened. We gave them the land of Gaza back. They turned it into a military base. And they were attacking us and brutalizing us and everything else. We're not going to reproduce that. But Biden wants us to, because he's no friend of ours. So they know a two-state solution is not going to happen. And they don't want to have any part in rebuilding Hamas, because Hamas is an ally of the Houthis and an ally of Hezbollah and an ally of Iran. And they don't like Saudi Arabia. The Shiites, the Sunnis, become dictators. Jordan a dictator, Saudi a dictator, Oman a dictator, UAE is a dictator. They call themselves kings. Kuwait's a dictator, Bahrain, Qatar, they all got these royal family dictators. And they don't get along with the Shiites who want to take the wealth away from the dictators or the royal family and give it to the people. Now I'm understanding that what they might be doing is running a huge water main pipe, which could be metal, from the sea that they're using a huge pump on. So they're going to start. Maybe they can get the tunnels better than I was thinking. During the night, the U.S. bases in El Amir and Kanoko oil and gas fields were attacked by pro-Iranian forces in Syria. See, this is keeping up, and Biden's not doing anything about it. And I don't know what Biden is, what the deal is, but it's apparent to me he's confused in a big way, and he doesn't know what to do. So, I don't know what's going to happen, and I'm not sure what's not going to happen, but it doesn't look like Biden really knows the clear direction that he wants to pursue. So that's what I got for now. So I'm Moshe, my wife's Rivka. Please pray for us for peace, safety, protection, blessing, healing. Pray for our finances. Thanks to those of you sending offerings. We can take PayPal again now. Just send an email and I'll give you the PayPal link. My email's in the description box underneath the video on the bottom line down. It's also in the chat, and we also take Patreon and GoFundMe. And pray for the animals and pets that are all rescues, that be happy, healthy, and whole. Pray for better videos. And pray for the peace of Jerusalem. And I'm out. And I should be doing an evening, my time, an evening update on the war. Like it's been my tradition, a brief update. Okay, kids, I'm out. Thank you.